As you must have heard by now, quarantine is no longer required for those who are vaccinated. There are new requirements, and it's rather complicated, and I was giving it to you in bits and pieces. So this time, I summarize everything so that you can fully understand what is involved. So there are additional information that I'm including in this post. So stay with me. That's what we'll talk about. To keep things simple, as simple as I can make it, I put this thing on PowerPoint so you will understand point by point what is allowed, what is not allowed. We will talk also about the visa requirement, which I have never addressed before. There were a lot of questions about that, and I'm going to address it today. So let's take a look. And please, if you need to pause it and read it. Make sure you understand what I'm talking about. Let's take a look. Okay, for fully vaccinated Filipino travelers and foreign nationals. Okay, this is fully vaccinated. Applies to both Filipinos and foreign nationals. Starting February 10th for foreign nationals. Okay, for foreign nationals only. Arriving in the Philippine island. For Filipinos, it's effective February 1. Passport valid for minimum of 6 months. These are the required documents. Proof of vaccination. We'll talk more about that. Now, what is a proof of vaccination? WHO Certificate of Vaccination, VaxCert-PH, and national or state certificate from foreign government. But in this IATF resolution, they did mention if there is reciprocity, meaning that country will also accept Philippines VaxCert-PH. And United States, Canada, Australia are included in that. So for US, CDC card is okay to use. RT-PCR test taken within 48 hours prior to departure from foreign country. Not arrival, prior to departure. We'll talk about that in greater detail as well. Then, monitor at home for 7 days. Meaning, once you reach the Philippines, if you're vaccinated, you can go home. But monitor for 7 days. Now, that may be a difference between monitor and quarantine. Maybe quarantine means you're allowed to get out of your house, but you just closely monitor yourself, make sure no symptoms are coming up. That I'm not sure of, but they use the word monitor at home, and I guess that is voluntary. Not voluntary, but self-imposed on your part. For unvaccinated travelers, Filipinos and foreign nationals, this will apply to both. If you are unvaccinated, arriving in PI, the following will be additionally required. So in addition to that one, there will be additional requirement. Facility-based quarantine for 5 days. Okay, because you're unvaccinated, 5 days. Take another PCR test on the 5th day, and then finish the 14-day quarantine at home. Now this one is talking about quarantine, and it says 14 days for unvaccinated travelers. For people who are unvaccinated due to medical reasons, they will be considered unvaccinated and follow the same protocol. For example, if you're not vaccinated because you claim allergy or whatever, but if you're unvaccinated, you will have to follow the same protocol. People who had coronavirus, this was one of the questions by my viewer. They say, oh, I already had coronavirus, so I have natural immunity. No, you are still unvaccinated, you will still follow the same protocol. There is no distinction with those people who had coronavirus before. Now, vaccinated travelers will not be counted in the travel cap. People were asking, gee, you know, there is I can't remember now if it's 3,000 passengers or travelers. You will not be counted, so there is no cap when it comes to vaccinated travelers. So I assume if you're unvaccinated, you will be covered by the travel cap. starting February 16, now this is on the 16th, all foreign nationals coming to the Philippines will need to be vaccinated, thereby eliminating the need for quarantine. So meanwhile, for now, you will be allowed, but you will be quarantined. But comes February 16, you have to be, these are foreign nationals now, you have to be vaccinated. Now, in my previous video, I said Filipinos and foreign nationals. No, apparently Filipinos are not. Filipinos could still come in unvaccinated, but you have to go through quarantine. Now, I understand there are discussions being made now regarding allowing foreigners, unvaccinated foreigners, to come in but will be subjected to quarantine. But no announcement has been made on that yet. So for now, starting February 16, all foreign nationals coming to the Philippines will need to be vaccinated for now. Okay? Now, as far as Philippine departure, just a side comment here. For travelers departing the Philippines, travel and health insurance that covers COVID for the duration of your stay overseas will be required in addition to the requirement of the foreign country. So you have to worry about the foreign country's requirement. For example, US, I think, requires an antigen or PCR test, but they do accept antigen. So you will have to follow that, or whatever foreign country you're going to. And but the Philippines requirement, they don't want to be responsible if you're infected with coronavirus, so they want to make sure you have travel and health policy to cover you for that. Now, regarding visa matters, and of course, this is for foreign nationals. For nationals, for Filipinos and former Filipinos, there is no visa required. Up to February 9th, you will not need a visa if traveling with Filipino spouse or child, just like it is now, okay? Right now, that's all you need. If you have a spouse or child and you're traveling, Filipino spouse and child, and traveling with them, you will not need a visa. Now, for most EO 408 country, and Canada, Australia, and US, they're one of them, starting February 10th, you'll be given 30-day visa at the time of arrival. Okay. Right now, you're required to have a visa, but that will stop on February 9th. On February 10th, they will restore the previous practice of giving you 30-day visa upon arrival at the airport. So you could be traveling alone, you're a foreigner, you could be a tourist, and you'll be given a 30-day visa. Brazil and Israel will be given 59 days. I guess they had a different deal. Non-visa countries will need visa. Okay, that means did they say that right? Well, no, I said that wrong. The non-visa countries, that means you have an agreement with the Philippines, you will not require a visa. But those who are not in this list of non-visa countries, you will be required to have a visa, obviously. Starting February 16, all foreign nationals must be vaccinated to enter the Philippines. As I mentioned earlier, all foreign nationals must be vaccinated. If you're not vaccinated, you cannot enter. That's as of now. There are discussions being made to relax this a little bit more, but no pronouncement or no resolution has been issued regarding that yet. So for now, the requirement after February 16 is that foreign nationals only, you will need to be vaccinated. Now, exemption from vaccination. Children below 18 years old are exempt from the vaccination requirement. Those with medical exemption must have medical certification. So, for example, if you have an allergy and you really cannot take the vaccine, you have to have medical certification. Foreign diplomats and their qualified dependents. I have no information yet on One Health Pass. I don't know if anything is being done about that. Now, let's talk about RT-PCR test. Must be taken within 48 hours of departure from country of origin, regardless of layover and arrival time. So, let's say you're leaving from Philadelphia, layover in New York, then go straight to the Philippines, or maybe another layover in San Francisco, the PCR test will have to be from Philadelphia within 48 hours of your departure from Philadelphia. Now, if I have a domestic flight, Philadelphia to New York, because I have to visit my son first before going to the Philippines, that's domestic, then my PCR test will have to be from New York, from the point of origin, regardless of layovers. I assume that's also regardless of delays, but take into account flight delays. For example, if they say within 48 hours, make it 24 hours. So in case there is a flight delay, you will be covered. Because these rules, sometimes not even the people in the Philippines will know, or better to be safe. Antigen test is not acceptable. Now, here's the thing. What happens if there is a positive test result? Keep the positive test result. Then rebook your flight, because you will not get into the Philippines or even at the airline if you have a if you have a positive test. Rebook your flight. Follow your country's required isolation protocol. After 10 to 30 days, take another RT-PCR test. If negative, you're good to go. Now, if still positive, but no longer have symptoms, call your airline first to make sure they will allow you to board with positive result. Then, of course, they will say no. But then you say, what if I have a medical certificate? If they say, oh yeah, if you have medical certificate, fine. Then get a medical certificate indicating that you completed the mandatory isolation period, that you are no longer infectious, and that you are now allowed to travel and move around. And you have to have an official certificate, not text or SMS. Under 4 years old are exempt from RT-PCR test. 4 years old. So if you're 4 years old and above, all children will have to go through that. Now, earlier I did mention about 18. That refers to being vaccinated. But as far as PCR test is concerned, 4 years old. Okay, that is the most recent update I have. As I get more information regarding this, I will post it so that you will be aware of the new requirements. It could be rather confusing. I still have not heard anything about the so-called one pass or one health pass, and too many requirements. Now, keep in mind this is temporary. Okay, this is temporary. It could change. It could change anytime. They could restore the old way of doing things anytime. Personally, I will wait until after the election before I travel. Hopefully at that time things will be a little bit more permanent and will normalize itself. I did notice, I haven't heard much about, I have not seen much of Duque recently in the past few days. I'm wondering what's happening. I will have another posting here regarding the so-called no vaccine, no vax, no ride policy. Watch out for that. And something is happening along those lines. And that's it for now. Please do subscribe to my channel unless you have already done so, and click like. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get notified of new postings. Thank you so much. Make it a great day, and God bless.